3, 2, 1.
Phil from 3DP UK Tech Channel. Today's unboxing and build and review is of the Elegoo Saturn 3 Ultra, kindly sent over by the Elegoo team for me to review today. So unboxing this, as you can see, always sturdy boxing sent by the Elegoo team. So the first out is the power supply for your country. For mine it's the UK. It should be ticked on the box that tells you, so we'll put that to one side. The sturdy packaging around the edge just stops the actual printer from moving about in transport, so keeps it safe, and it's quite heavy as well, so I think it's around about 23 kilos. Next out of the box is the instructions, as you can see, nice and clear, very simple to set up, just gives you a clear guide of the screen, etc. Next out of the box is the leveling card, so we'll use that later on in the video. That's to level out the build plate. So you can pull out the sides, which I really like about this as well, so it just makes it easier for when you're removing the printer from the box itself. Like I say, it's quite heavy, so you do need to be careful. Maybe just grab it around the edges and lift it out. Let's discard the box now. The printer back into view, so we're going to take off the plastic covering that comes with it. So there's probably no easier way of doing this than tearing it open and having a bit of fun. Why not? Just pulling that all back, you can see that now it's the black UV cover instead of the red Elegoo type Saturn style, so they've gone for the black, which I kind of think it kind of looks stylish. So inside there you will find the little toolbox, and in the toolbox you have a selection of different things you're going to need for the setup. So first out of the box is some gloves, which is always useful, but I always have my own, some Allen keys and some spare bolts, etc. Next out of the box is the power brick to go with the power cable that we took out a bit earlier. So on the back is some ratings, so just check them out, make sure that your ratings are okay, but I'm sure it's pretty much standard. Next out of the box is some filters. Now, these paper filters are pretty much one-off uses, obviously, but I tend to use my own filter and a funnel, which makes it a lot easier. Next out of the box is the metal scraper. Now you only want to use this on the build plate, of course, don't use it on the FEP sheet. And then next out of the box is the Elegoo filter. So this has activated carbon inside, charcoal inside, so the USB connection pushes in at the back of the printer, which I'll show you a bit later on in the video. Let's take it apart and just see what it looks like. So as you can see, that's the filter part, and inside is the activated charcoal. So the air filters through that and hopefully takes out some of the smells that obviously the printing brings you, but how good this is debatable. Next out of the box is the plastic scraper. Now this is specifically for the FEP sheet, obviously, and then the USB thumb drive, so we're hoping there's some files on there. And then a face mask with activated charcoal inside, I think, so that's pretty cool. Give them a try. And then we have a slicer program, so I think that's like lifetime, so I won't show the QR code because otherwise somebody else will get the lifetime. Probably going to use G2 box and then the antenna for the Wi-Fi, so we'll give that a try as well. And that's it, everything out of the box. With the rest of the foam at the top of the printer. So this is the twisty knob for the build plate. We'll lift that off, not just double check there's nothing in there. And this is the build plate. Do really like the fact that they've gone for the 4 bolts, so for leveling, and it just gives you a brief description of what you need to do. Let's remove the protective covering, and as you can see, it's got this laser etch pattern, which is going to help with adhesion, I would have thought, and helping to remove the build as well. So I'll go over some of the specs a bit later on in the video. Let's take some more of the foam away. Double check everything as you're removing it. and we're going to remove the vat now. So these thumb screws actually remove completely, which is not really that ideal, but you know, not a problem. So this is the vat itself, and it comes with like a protective covering and also some notifications as to the fill level, also a little spout for you to remove the actual resin out. So let's pull away the protective screen. As you can see, it's gone like a frosted color now. So like I say, I'm going to go into some of the specs a bit later on in the video, just some of the things that they've used on this and some of the dimensions, etc. This is a 12K resin printer, so as you can see, it's got protective covering on the actual screen as well, which is the 12K mono screen. So let's remove that. So actually looking at it now, there's some more foam underneath the actual build plate holder. Let's move that out, so don't forget about that. And looking around, it looks like it's been taped into the corners, and then you have the linear rails with the rod in the middle, and also at the top it's secured with like a ball valve, as a ball joint as well. So like that keeps the actual Z rod nice and secure. I do like that as well because it obviously will help with the Z wobble. So looking over it, on the left and the right you have a rubber cover which covers the USB connection ports, and this is where you put your filtration system, which I showed you. So let's just grab that. Now pushing it in, it connects up and obviously powers on once you put the actual printer on. So they're not individually powered by themselves. They need the machine actually to actually power that. Like I say, you can, showing you on both sides, you could have two. With the actual printer you only receive one. So if you're not using them, just put these rubber stoppers back in, because obviously you don't want any spills or anything in there. Let's turn the printer. So on the left hand side, or the right hand side to you guys, you have the USB port, you have the Wi-Fi connection there. Let's put that on while we're on this side, and then just twist it up and face it upwards, and then the on off switch, and then the power connection, and that's for the brick. So let's go to the back. Now you have two intake, or you have an intake and an outtake there. So I quite like that. Nice sturdy metal frame, and then obviously some of your specification ratings and serial number. And on the left hand side there's nothing on there. Like I say, full metal chassis, and underneath there's no grilling under there, so they've gone for just the inlet and outlet on the back, which is a little bit questionable. Hopefully that shouldn't be a problem. I do like the touch screen on this. So this is the UV cover. So they've got, like I say, they've gone for the black style UV cover on this, whereas the traditional red sort of mostly seen on the Elegoo Saturns and the Mars. So, and they've also got a port at the back for you to be able to connect up your own exhaust system. So there are some files online. It connects up and sort of pops into place, so it does create like a bit of a vacuum on there, so it stops anything from coming in or out. And obviously, like I say, if you was to connect up an exhaust unit onto that, that would obviously help, and probably a lot more than those little filter systems that come with it. And like I say, you only receive one. So specs on screen now, so you can go over those specs that this printer has, and while that's doing that, it's loading up, and you can see on the left now the specs for this particular printer. So the first thing you'll see when you turn on the printer is that the Elegoo logo pops up and it loads up. And the first part is you have print. Well, obviously we can't do that because there's nothing on the file. As you can see, different sections of this, and then sort of print history. Obviously it hasn't had any. And then we've got settings. As you can see on screen, there's manual. So this is where you'll adjust your printer up and down. You can click on the back to 0, and that takes it to the home position, 0.1, 1, 10 mil and 50 mil, and that's the movement distance. So obviously you can do that, and you can also stop it, and that just moves the build volume up and down. So right now it's not allowing me to do anything. So what we need to do is go back. So obviously you can see tank clean. So this is where you can actually put a thin layer on the resin, and that just helps take any debris from the vat. Tend not to really use that, and then stop, that just turns it off. So let's have a quick look at the screen exposure. So you've got different sort of things that you can do with that. So let's have a quick look. So the first one is the Elegoo sign. So we'll press that, and as you can see, it's come up on the screen now. Quite like the fact that they've done that, because it does show some of any sort of pixels that might have gone. And the next one is like a checkered board, which is quite cool. And then the final one is just a full screen. That's just to double check everything is okay. So always do that before you start. Okay, so there's a section there for device self-test. So that carries out some tests of like the screen, etc. Not sure whether that actually works, because it doesn't turn on the screen or anything. So a bit confused by that one. And the last one is the system settings. So the first bit is the language, Wi-Fi, system settings, and your version. Obviously we've not connected up the Wi-Fi yet, but we can do that a bit later. So you just do that, and then it comes up with all your Wi-Fi connection bits. So we can do that. System settings, so device info, just give some information about the device itself. Your view as well. So you can do a voice on there. USB format, if you want to format your USB key. Then just some error logs, and then service. So it just gives you all the details as to like who to contact. Like I say, the actual screen is 4-inch. So obviously you can do your version of your firmware. So you can update it via USB or over LAN. And then just multiple languages. So obviously we're choosing English, but there are a vast amount of different languages that you can use, which is always great to see. Let's scroll back. So the backwards arrow key just takes us away from that section there. So now we're going to try and do the actual bed level. So as you can see, it's not allowing me to do anything at the moment. So what I'm going to do is to refer to the manual now. Is press back to 0, and that just moves the actual head down, and then we'll press 50 and then press up, and that should now rise, and that's what it's doing right now. So what you do at the very beginning is just press back to 0. That allows you to actually move the head itself. So what we're doing now is grab the VAT, the build plate. We're going to connect up the build plate, and then with the thumb screw, you just tighten that up at the top. And just make sure that's tight, and then grab the Allen key like so, and undo the 4 bolts at the top. So you want to make sure they're loose but not completely taken off. And then we're going to double check the build plate is free, and that when it lowers down, it's not going to damage the screen itself. So just undo all 4. It's fairly easy to do. Like I say, just once you've unloosened them, just give them a last little twist round on all 4, just to make sure. Like I said, don't remove them fully. You don't want to do that. And then just give the build plate a little bit of a wobble once you've done that, just to make sure that it's moving freely, which it is. So I'm happy with that. So we're going to go and grab the leveling card. A lot of people do it different ways. Some people do it with just the actual resin vat and leaving the card, but we'll just go by what the instructions say. So what you want to do is press back to 0, which we've done, and that's homing back to its original Z position. So from the factory, it's most likely have already been leveled, but it's best to do it yourself just to make sure that in transit it hasn't changed. So it's hit the final point. So what we're going to do is grab the Allen key and push down firmly, not too hard, but firmly down on each side, just to make sure it's evenly fitted. and then we're going to lock off the Allen key bolts. And what you want to do is do one side, then do the back, and then on the other side, and then do the back. So you kind of get an even tight. So that kind of helps to ensure that you've not slipped on one side and it's slightly off. This is the hardest part, obviously, is the bed leveling is the key part to resin. And then just give it a last little tighten around all 4 bolts. Make sure to hold the build plate just so that it doesn't sort of move whilst you're actually tightening it. And that's pretty much level. So what you want to do is grab the card with underneath and just sort of move it. It may not allow it, so just move it up 0.1. You can do that a few times just to allow the card to be revealed, and then grab a corner. It doesn't quite overlap, and you want to push it under and see if there's any sort of resistance on that. You want as little as resistance as possible. So it's sort of, you could just find it biting around the edge of it. Go all the way around on the left and the right. And then if you want to lower it down, you can just press down 0.1. A little bit more. Let's go back to where we were. You can feel it biting now. It's kind of about where we want it. Like I say, you can go further down. I'm pretty happy with that. So now what we want to do is we want to back up, and then we want to set Z. So that's going to set the new Z position from where we are right now. And once that's done, you want to click confirm to say yes, store those settings. And that's it. That's basically the bed leveling done. Okay, so what we want to do is move the actual build plate up now. So we're going to click 50 and press up. We'll do it again so that it's about 100 mils above the build platform. And once that's out of the way, what we'll do is we'll just do another screen test just to make sure nothing's changed. So I'm happy with that. And we'll go through sort of the checkerboard as well. We'll do that one as well, just to double check. Say, it's kind of what the instructions say is what you do after you've done your bed leveling. Obviously, I showed you a bit earlier. And then what we're going to do is grab the VAT now. Make sure that you've removed the covering from the VAT and from the screen itself, which you see earlier on in the video. And as you can see, there's some little locating pins or points, so that just slots in lovely. And then grab your thumb screw bolts. Like I say, you don't want to misplace them, and they do come out fully. So we do the right hand side, and then we do the left hand side. Just make sure it's nice and tight, and then we do the other side again just to make sure that's done as well. So everything's secured now, so I'm happy with that. So the next step is to put the USB thumb drive in, so we're going to do that now, and just see what files are on there. Sometimes these actual USB cards don't actually come with anything, and you pretty much have to do it yourself. You'll see it flashing red. So what we want to do now is back up and then click on local USB, and as you can see, there's sort of printing test and stuff like that. So there are some files on here. It's questionable whether these files will work with the resin that's been supplied to me. So I had the 8K resin supplied to me, just a standard resin in white smoke. So it'll be interesting to see how these come out. And as you can see, just flicking through the screens, you can tick them. So when you tick them, it's wanting to ask you whether you want to save it to the local drive. So actually the built-in hard drive on this, like I say, it showed you earlier on the specification. So it's got a 4 gig RAM and a hard drive on it, so that's pretty good. Yeah, so local files is where you're going to find them now that they've saved across. So if we click on local files, the 2 tests that I showed you earlier are now showing up, and as you can see, it shows sort of an image of the slice file and the settings, and then there's the rook, which we'll try and give a go now. So quite easy to do. So obviously these are pre-sliced files, so these have been sliced by Elegoo. So if you click print and then pause, it will actually allow you to sort of have a look at some of these settings. And it, like I say, you can adjust the exposure and bottom exposure, etc. And you can do that even post slice, but there's some that probably can't be changed. It's be worth having a look as you touch the screen. And then you've got your lift time and lift speed, speed of sort of bottom lift and stuff like that. And then your retract speed as well, so you can change all those. On the Elegoo website there is an Excel spreadsheet, and it shows you. So on this screen here, it gives you an idea of times for it, for how long it's going to print, and how long's left and what percentage. And it also sort of shows you at the bottom of the screen, so I quite like that. There's a lot of information on this screen. PCBWay are a PC board manufacturer. But not only PCBs, they do PCB prototyping, PCB assembly, FPC and rigid flex, advanced PCBs, and even CNC and 3D printing. The site's very easy to use. It also has bioprotection, worldwide delivery, and all sorts of other great additions. As you can see, they have competitions and all sorts of different projects that you can carry out. So check out PCBWay.com, which is today's video sponsor, PCBWay.com. And PCBWay for today's video sponsor. So we're going to put the USB air filtration system in now. Now, it's probably best to actually put this in before you put the VAT and the build plate on, because it was a bit fiddly trying to get that on. Took a few takes with that one. We're going to come out of this screen, so obviously we're not going to do the print now. We're going to close it off, so all we need to do is just press the stop button and then yes to actually cancel that print, and then back up to the first part of the screen. So what we're going to do now is just we'll select a print and we'll go with that and add the resin into the printer. Elegoo supplied me with this 8K standard resin. So this is the white smoke, so I'm hoping that the settings that they provided for me on the USB are actually going to suit this. Otherwise we're going to have to reslice. What we want to do is raise the build plate, so we'll go to 50 and then raise it up, and just be able to allow us to actually put the resin in safely. Make sure that the VAT is secured. It's a good opportunity to double check that and give it a small shake. You don't want to add too many air bubbles into that, just enough to mix all the polymers together. So we're just going to undo that. Obviously wear protection, so I've got my glasses on and also some gloves. I thought I'd use the gloves that were supplied. I do actually always have plenty of those. So you want to fill up as much as your print's going to be, maybe slightly more. Today we're going to go up to the fill volume line just to make sure. We're going to do a few test prints with this, so you always want to be slightly careful with the drip on the end. Pretty much every time I do with resin, I always end up with a small drip somewhere, so you want to try and avoid getting it anywhere near the printer itself. So that's all the resin in there. So like I say, I've taken my gloves off now because I won't be working with anything. So we want to turn on a print. So you go to local files. So we've already put some slices on there. So what we're going to do is print off one of the prints off that. Click start. And then that obviously starts, and the build plate will move down. Make sure that the thumb screw is tight. And I think that's pretty much everything. And now that the air filter is actually turned on, so that turns on as soon as you press play and it actually comes on. You see the green light showing on the filter just at the back there. So this doesn't independently turn on by itself. It's something that you need to have it plugged into the actual machine itself, so I've noticed. On screen it's giving you all the settings that are for this model. You can change it, so just going through all the different settings on there, it tells you how long it's got to print, how much has been done, And then obviously it gives you a percentage bar on this screen here, so it does flick between the other one and this one, I've noticed, and it just gives you a final time that it's working to. So what we do is come back in about 2.5 hours, and hopefully this print should have been completed. So welcome back. That was a few of the prints that I've done so far on it. You would have noticed that the prints changed slightly throughout the video, and the reason for that is that I had failure after failure after failure. So basically I used the settings off the USB that was provided for the slice files, and using this Elegoo standard resin as well, it wouldn't work for anything that I tried. Even adjusting some of the settings on the screen, it didn't work. So basically what was happening was the print was sticking to the vat, resulting in me having to remove the liquid every single time. So it happened 3 times on 3 different models. So I just completely wiped them off the SD card. They're obviously appropriate for another type of resin, but not the one that was provided for this review. So what I did is I went onto G2 Box and resliced. And as you see with the previous models, the Iron Man and the calibration model, and obviously this particular model that I've taken off STL Flicks, they have worked perfectly. And I use the standard settings for that. So you just open up G2 Box, download the machine settings for this printer, so Saturn 3 Ultra, and I just literally used that. Went onto the Elegoo website and went to the Excel spreadsheet that's there, and it gives you some settings for pretty much all of their Elegoo branded polymers. Did some of the settings on G2 Box. So yeah, definitely run a quick test print and go back to it and make adjustments. If not, don't think that it's the printer, it could be potentially just the slice file, so don't panic. So yeah, once you've done that, slice it up on there, put it on the USB card and plug it in, and away you go. And like I say, I had 3 successful prints from that. Bed leveling went well. Slice files in the end went well. Don't use the USB slice files unless you have any luck with that, which I didn't. So I'm going to remove all of the resin now. So like I said earlier on in the video, the paper ones aren't really that great for small as you can see on this bottle, it's got a small lip on it, so it basically, if you tip the resin through the paper, it's going to go all down the sides. And trust me, I've done it before on other printers. So I buy these kits from Amazon, and it comes with like a little funnel and a metal filter, and they work perfectly. And because of the different sizes on that, it fits on any bottle. So as you can see, it's using the very smallest nozzle part of the funnel. So gently tip that out. Like I say, once you've done that, you want to clean out the vat unless you're going to be using it again. Always recommend wiping it down, but be very, very careful not to damage the actual FEP sheet. They are very, very fragile, as you'll probably know that. The cleanup session's obviously the most difficult and the most important part of any resin printing. So yeah, once you've done that, give it a clean down. It's the end of the review. Like I say, these are some of the models I did following the changes to the settings on my USB. Like I say, don't use the slice files unless you want to take that chance. It's likely to fail, but you know, some people may have had some luck, but I had to redo it on Chi2Box, as I said, and they come out perfectly well. The model quality is amazing. So overall, the printer, for me, just looking at some of this, it's looking great. You know, the quality of the actual print, the details on this Iron Man. I think I overexposed it a little bit on the UV curing, but that's just, I'm not that experienced in resin printing, so some rookie mistakes there. But like I say, with the 218, 122 and 260 build volume and the 12K resolution monochrome LCD screen, and also the ACF FEP sheet, with the 4 leveling screws on the build volume, that kind of helps with the leveling, and you've got maximum speed of 150, and the etched build plate as well, that kind of obviously helps with the adhesion. The USB ports for the air cooling or the filtration system kind of helps with that, but I did come back in with the lid shut and it still did smell slightly off. It has Wi-Fi and is compatible with Voxel Dance, which is obviously what you get the lifetime user on that. But I prefer to use Chi2Box myself, but it's more of a preference. And then the dual linear rails helps with stability, but as you can see from this model, the detail is absolutely stunning, and this model was from STL Flicks, so I really like that. And like I say, this is the resin that was supplied, the 8K white smoke standard resin. I did have issues with it, so overall the build quality of this machine is absolutely stunning. The full metal chassis, the actual vat is nice and sturdy and made of metal. The locating pins help with that. The laser etched build volume, the build plate, sorry. But overall, the aesthetics of this, I really like the look of it. The lift-off lid and the black UV covering of that. But yeah, I'm going to be putting it through some more testing. But as you can see from the machine, it's nice and sturdy. Don't be too concerned about having issues with the prints, because like I said earlier on the video several times now, this was literally down to the fact that the settings weren't right. But overall, yep, that's the Elegoo Saturn 3 Ultra 12K from Elegoo.
4